Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's go, everybody. Let's go.
Yes!
Theme song. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, is he...
I'm sorry, like we were all gung ho and everything, and it's like first thing that comes up is like Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fortunate Son. It's like wow, for so many years that has been used as like the go-to, like you're in a Vietnam movie when you're hearing that.
Yeah. I find all the different uses for it on TikTok are pretty amazing, but that's just me. Friends, joining me on the line as he does every week on the show. He's from Cinemablend.com. He reviews movies and talks about James Bond and sleeps in his underwear. Friends, it's Mike Reyes from Cinemablend. How you doing, man?
Doing well. That's more of a summer thing, and even then, I have like these comfortable shorts.
I was gonna say, are you a pajama man or what?
I like to be. Like, okay. I like to actually have, like, decent pajamas, but I am not above, like, I currently have my Penguin sweatpants and my Resident Evil t-shirt on.
Okay. That's nothing wrong with that. I'm just, I go to bed, I'm just an underwear guy. I'm that guy. But I do the, and this is shameless plug, but Duluth brand underwear, the Bare Naked.
Oh.
The best.
I'm assuming that's one of those like moisture wicking, like temperature control deals.
They're kind of like, it's one of those underwears that are kind of like a mix between a boxer and a boxer brief.
Yeah, I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
They're expensive, but they're worth the money, man. Absolutely worth the money. So if anybody needs underwear advice, that's my underwear advice. Get you some Duluth brand Bare Naked underwear. Hey, I don't know. Do you guys, does Duluth brand stuff big over in New Jersey?
I don't know, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised because we do have Tractor Supply out here.
They, if you get it, they've got good clothes, like good, sturdy, good clothes. I'm a fan. I'm starting to become a bigger fan of Duluth because I just, but I will say they are a little bit more expensive, but you get a lot for your money. Anyways, this isn't about me or my underwear. Friends, we're here to talk about movies and such. We got to dive in. We will have some time travel this week. We could do a whole half hour on underwear.
All about you.
I know, me and my undergarments. We are going to do some time travel, like I said. Mike is going to see Saturday Night later on tonight, actually. This is the one about Saturday Night Live. It looks like it should be a lot of fun, and it's kind of the early stages of what Saturday Night Live were, right?
Oh, yeah. My understanding is this is basically, the whole story is like almost real time, maybe the hour and a half before the first Saturday Night Live went on air, and just going through the trials and tribulations, all the stumbling blocks and what have you. And it's funny because Jason Reitman is the co-writer and director of the movie. It looks like, I want to call it Saturday Night Whiplash, and he was a producer on Whiplash, so it kind of makes sense. And also J.K. Simmons is in here too with Milton Berle, so tell me I'm wrong.
I think this is going to be one of those movies that's either going to be great or it's going to be unrepresentative of it. You know?
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, I agree with you. There's not going to be middle ground for this. And right now it is at 79 on the Tomatometer on Rotten Tomatoes with 106 reviews. And the critical consensus basically says that the ensemble captures the essence of not the exact likeness of the crew. And yeah, quote, a frenetic and nonstop nostalgic celebration of one of showbiz's most auspicious debuts.
All right.
And I've actually sort of been in this headspace lately because not only did I went out and got a copy of like what is considered the oral history of Saturday Night Live, Live from New York, but there's also an earlier book that was written in 1985 called Saturday Night. And my whole goal is to like read both of those back to back and then sort of take this movie and watch that first episode and sort of see what shakes around in my mind afterwards.
All right, so we'll get that full review here towards the end. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend is on the line with me. Now, we do have some movies. We do have some movies, everybody. We do have some movies that we've seen.
Brian.
One of the other big ones that's coming out this weekend is The Apprentice. It has to do with Donald Trump. And, you know, no matter what side you're on, the man is polarizing. This is coming out this weekend. You've seen it, right?
Yes. And I am not even being funny. This is good. I've been looking forward to talking about this and voicing my thoughts and even just writing the review because I did the official review for Cinemablend. And the thing is, this movie is rather even-handed, and it makes some pretty solid choices in how it stays that way, because director Ali Abbasi's film starring Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong is more focused on Donald Trump's rise to power in New York. Like, it basically takes place during the late 70s up to like the mid 80s when he's starting to write The Art of the Deal with his co-writer.
Yeah.
And it tells the story of how Roy Cohn, infamous prosecutor and just political wheeler and dealer in the U.S. political circuit, becomes the mentor to Donald Trump, and then sort of teaches him his rules to succeed and rules to survive. And it's done rather artistically, because you start off with like the 70s documentary feel to the visuals, and then by the end it's sort of like 80s VHS/TV feed.
Okay.
And throughout the whole thing, like, Sebastian Stan gained the weight and went through, like, he does have a vocal coach credited in here. He isn't a caricature. He doesn't go out and he's not just doing like a Saturday Night Live impression or something. He embodies this character so well, to the point, and the same could be said for Jeremy Strong as well, playing Roy Cohn. Both of these men embody their roles so well that there are actual moments of vulnerability and humanity that are shown for both of these men, who are two of the most notorious and controversial political figures in U.S. history. There's actual moments of humanity and pathos, and it's not like they're just trying to drum up sympathy for them. It's actually just, they're not trying to drum up sympathy, and they're not trying to demonize these men either. This is really showing those events that have been historically recorded, and basically Donald Trump evolving into the man that he is now through Roy Cohn's tutelage. And you even, like, Sebastian Stan even sort of just slips into, like, he goes from like the young sort of upstart in the family that wants to prove himself to dad, to taking over and pushing people aside and doing what he wants and going for what he wants. It's a really good movie. The only problem I have with it is I love Maria Balaklava, especially from Borat, the Borat sequel, as well as she was Cosmo in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay.
She's a fantastic actor, and she plays Ivana Trump. Her performance is really good, especially with the moment she gets with Jeremy Strong towards the end. I feel like the story didn't weave her in organically enough, or didn't build her character up enough.
Okay.
And it feels like it's only serving a heinous act that is later depicted towards the end. And I'm just going to give people I know people are iffy on content warnings, but if you are sensitive to depictions of sexual assault, this film does contain a sequence that shows such activity.
Okay. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend joining me to talk about the world of movies. So that's The Apprentice.
Yeah, it's not a barnstormer either way. It's just, it is very even-handed.
Okay. It seems, this is one of the, we were talking about this off air, and this is one of those ones that Trump is going to be one of those guys, because, you know, there is the polarizing effect of him. But, boy, I think in, you know, wanting to tell one story from him, people would feel like they'd have to tell a different story. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Like, I know so many people would be tempted, and so many people, there are creators that have already tapped into the well of current politics with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That would probably be the most tempting to people. And, you know, you had the James Comey miniseries with, like, Brendan Gleeson playing Donald Trump, and I think Jeff Daniels was in there as James Comey.
Okay.
But you had that drama. And most people would want to focus on that. Others would probably want to do a cradle to grave, like, here's how he grew up, here's where he came out. And both of those are, it's very hard. I think it's hard to make a film about someone like Donald Trump, because it's even harder when he's such a polarizing figure that you need to pick a lane.
Okay.
You need to really, if you're going to talk about the man, you need to be specific. You need to have a vision.
It seems like there are choices you have to make, and you have to make them early and stick with them.
If you're even going to touch someone who's popular or well-beloved, or even just not well-beloved, if you're going to touch anybody in a biopic or any sort of historical drama, you need to come correct. You need to just do it right. And I think that's something that other people have sort of been keeping in mind with the Ronald Reagan picture that came out this year.
One of my boss here at the station, went and saw that, and like the dude is really into presidents. It doesn't matter which party or anything like that. He has a fascination with presidents and the seat of power and the people that have been in that, right? And he said that movie was
natural.
He said that movie was so awful.
I've heard that too.
Like just not done well.
It's sort of a natural. It's not done well at all.
Now FDR, American Badass, on the other hand, best presidential movie ever.
Marco Polio. Look, it's just like Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. You're either with it or you're not.
Yeah. All right, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend on the line with me right now as we talk about
that is an actual movie, by the way.
We're getting into funny territory here that I don't want to go into.
Well, I was just about to pivot over to the fact that, like any good spectator sport, it's getting biopics. See also Nicolas Cage playing John Madden.
Is he really?
I believe Nicolas Cage is going to be in a Madden biopic, and it might be about I don't know if it's the one about the video game.
Oh my God, that is such an interesting choice for John Madden.
Nicolas Cage is going to play John Madden, according to Variety in August, playing John Madden in David O. Russell biopic. Oh, so it isn't about the video game. I thought someone was going to make a movie about the video games, but yeah, this is about Madden. Wow. And Nick, I am excited for that because I could see him falling just disappearing. And once again, the man doesn't sell out. The man always gives you his all. He gives you Nicolas Cage. You need to know what you're asking Nicolas Cage for.
Wow. That's if you would have said, hey, who would you cast as John Madden? I would have never once said Nicolas Cage. I would have. Yeah. An older one would be John Goodman.
Oh man, I would cast John Goodman in anything, to be honest. Well, almost anything. But
yeah.
John Goodman would be a good pick. If he wanted to do a more serious sort of project, Frank Caliendo, because he's the guy that's always done like the Madden impression for Fox. I think it was Frank Caliendo. It was either Frank Caliendo or Will Sasso.
Yeah, I think it's Caliendo.
Yeah. I love both those dudes.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend on the line with me right now as we do make our way through it. What are the other? Are we talking about Terrifier 3? Did you see that, or that's just coming out this weekend?
It's coming out this weekend. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I'm jealous because I love those first two. Like, just a PSA for the folks at home. If you're into extreme gore and practical effects, and a clown that has no dialogue but is both menacing and hysterical, then Terrifier 3 is for you.
Oh,
Terrifier
that's where that clown is from.
Art the Clown. Yep. David Howard Thornton, previous guest on Overdue Rentals.
Oh, yeah, shameless plug. Links are at the bottom of the page, everybody. All right, the other one, did you see the Andrew Garfield, what's-her-name movie, We Live in Time?
I have not seen the Andrew Garfield Florence Pugh film We Live in Time, but all I know is I saw friends at the advanced screening this week, and they handed out free wine and free tissues.
Oh, wow.
So thank you A24 for continuing to kill your marketing game, because that's a crushing move right there. That's freaking awesome. But also I have heard that it is just an ugly cry, like romantic, break your heart and make you laugh at the same time sort of thing. And I mean, it's from the director of Brooklyn. And I think Brooklyn is one of the most underrated films of the past decade or so, because I think it was a 2015 movie. And yeah, I'm ready to eventually get my heart broken again. I just don't know if I want to bring my wife to do that, or if I should go see it myself, and just, I don't know. I'm going to ask her what she prefers, because I know we both cried during The Wild Robot. That was an emotional film.
The thing I first found out about this movie was Andrew Garfield was talking about it. I think it was on Good Morning America. I don't know for sure, but apparently one of their romantic scenes got a little too hot and heavy because they didn't hear him say cut or something, and they just kind of kept going.
I mean, to be fair, they're both consummate performers.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised in the slightest. Also, I mean, I think even Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh can realize, wait a minute, we're two of the most attractive people on film right now, and we're damn good actors. And if we're not giving the people if we're not selling the people on this, then they're going to know. They're going to just flat out, they're like, you can't half-act this.
All right, MCU, I need you to do me something. I want to see Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield. and in his universe, Florence Pugh is Black Widow, or
that would be interesting.
Or Black Cat.
She's already poised. You'd have to play the multiverse card on that, and I guess that would make. Well, no.
Black Cat is
the whole
from.
Thing about that is what?
No, Black Cat is from Marvel.
No, I know that, but the thing is, the Amazing Spider-Man is not like the MCU's chosen Spider-Man. He's another realm of the multiverse.
No, that's what I'm saying.
In there they cast Felicity Jones as Black Cat in Amazing Spider-Man 2. She just didn't get to be Black Cat yet. Just like they cast Shailene Woodley as their Mary Jane Watson, but they cut her from the film, so that's a different thing. There's got to be a story behind that. The production of that movie, because they cut her scenes as Mary Jane Watson. They cut that whole alternate ending where Peter's dad is still alive. And I think they released that publicly. I just really want to know what was going on during that whole assembly.
I think of all the Spider-Man movies out there right now. I mean, obviously, we're going to get the Miles Morales thing, but of the ones that we don't know exactly about, I think the Amazing Spider-Man 3 is the one I want to see the most. I want to see more of that world.
I would love to see the Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Here's my thought. You know how in all of the universes, J. Jonah Jameson is, saying how bad Spider-Man is? Andrew said it in the No Way Home, I stopped pulling my punches. What if you have a world where J. Jonah Jameson's right about him, and you're living in a world where Spider-Man is a hero, but he's also sort of a feared hero?
Oh, so like the Spider-Man instead of kind of like the Batman.
Kind of, yeah. Where Andrew, you show that world of where, you know what, maybe he's going back and now maybe he's a little bit more emotionally healed and he's trying to fix that rep, but he's done a lot of awful things to, he hasn't pulled the punches.
Yeah, well, let's not forget we're also getting, whatchamacallit, we're also getting Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
I think as live action. I forget if it's live action or if it's animated, but I know Nick Cage, and then Brendan Gleeson's going to be the villain.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend on the line with me as we make our way through it. A couple other reviews before we get to some news, and this is kind of the TV stuff. Only Murders in the Building. Mike hasn't watched it, but I want to say something about it. I think this was the worst episode they ever had this week.
I was waiting for you to say that, and I know exactly why.
Melissa McCarthy was a part of this, and shocking, she falls down a lot in it for comic relief. Moreover than not just my dislike of Melissa McCarthy, it was 25 minutes of filler for the 5 seconds of actual, the story progresses at the end. It was weird hijinks and stuff happening at Melissa McCarthy's place. I don't want to spoil all the stuff for anybody who hasn't watched it, but it was all of this, and then all of a sudden at the end, it's we wrapped it up, and it's God, it sucks. So I really like this show. I think of 4 seasons, it's their worst episode, but that's just me. I could be wrong. I don't want to get off on a rant here, but...
Oh, man, you want to talk about polarizing and controversial. We were talking about Dennis Miller yesterday and just having flashbacks to the good old days of Dennis Miller Live before everything changed and Monday Night Football.
You know what's funny is, I didn't realize Dennis Miller Live only lasted a season. It was 120-some episodes, but it was only a season long.
I didn't know that either, but that's probably part of the reason. It's they counted the season differently, because it's probably like a Bill Maher where it's they count, it's more intensive and more widespread. But also I think part of what also may be conflated in that is it was basically his weekend update shtick.
Yeah,
and I think that kind of builds into that sort of opinion.
I watched that show when I was too young, but I loved it. And
same here.
It was amazing. So, anyways, so Only Murders in the Building. I don't want to beat this thing to death. I didn't enjoy this weekend's episode or this week's episode, and Melissa McCarthy didn't help that at all. The other one, and I'm going to ask you something, Agatha, you caught up, but you're not to this week's episode, right?
Yeah, I only haven't watched this week's episode.
Are you going to watch it today? Do we save this for time travel? Do you think you're going to get to it?
I might, just because I do want to talk about it with you. That's one I've been watching with my wife, and so we've just kind of been watching it together, but I might just have to watch it because after going to see Saturday Night tonight. I don't know. Well,
No,
you
I
know
get
what? We might have time. Save it for time travel. I think we're going to have time after Saturday night tonight.
Okay,
I'll make the time.
In case you don't, there is something big that happens at the end of this one. I like this episode better than last week's. I still am not crazy about Agatha.
I'm still on board. In fact, I think the last 2 weeks, after catching those last 2 weeks, I kind of like what they've been doing, especially with the trials, because I thought I saw, I don't know if it was you or someone else who was like, oh yeah, it's probably just going to be trials each week. And someone said that in a context where it's like, this is going to be boring. And I like how they're using it as like an anthological approach where it's what WandaVision wanted to be, but this feels like it's committing to that gag in a different light where it's like, hey, we're going to mock these different time periods and aesthetics. Well, not mock them, but we're going to pay homage to them in these challenges. But it's I'm trying to figure out it's more organic, I guess, because WandaVision eventually just ditched it, wanted nothing, kind of felt like it wanted nothing to do with it, and just kind of half-assed the sitcom homages towards, like, when they started getting into the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, or I think it was S.H.I.E.L.D. that was in there. Or I forget if it was another regulatory arm.
Yeah,
but anyway.
I know what you're talking about.
Whereas here it's like they're committing to it. It's not totally baked in, but they know where the line is between we're going to use this, but also there's this overarching thing of, hey, we're on the witch's path.
If you get a chance, we'll talk a little bit more about it, because I don't want to talk about the end of it just yet.
So yeah, I know there's also the big like teen reveal.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, okay. I was trying not to say anything.
Well, I know there is one. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they work it out.
I just know that people are already like, I'm sorry?
Nothing at all. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend on the line with me. We'll wait to talk about that. The other one that came out this past weekend, we're a little late on it, but The Penguin. We got another episode of that, and this is one where I kind of I was typing messages to you as it was going on.
I noticed that because I think it was after I watched it. I saw it like, this happened, this, and it's like, oh, he's watching it tonight. Like, this is one of the ones where it's very easy to keep it as appointment TV. It's easy up until this point because I am doing New York Comic Con next week.
Yeah.
And I have the round table for The Penguin as part of my experiences. So I now have the rest of the season in my inbox waiting, and I'm going to like devour it for prep.
Oh, cool.
But even if I didn't have that, I'd be watching it every week because that's what I've been doing, and I absolutely love it.
This episode was easier to watch for some reason. I don't know why. The second one I kind of struggled to get through. I think maybe it's the relationship stuff between Vic and Penguin, because you don't know where it's going, on whether or not one of them's going to sell the other one out, or one's going to turn, or one actually likes the other one. But this week there was that moment where it's like, you know what? Vic really hurt the Penguin in what he did and what he said.
Yeah, and I don't think that, first of all, I don't think that's anything, that's not the Penguin posturing, that's not him faking it. I think he legitimately was sad that Victor looked like he was going to leave him, because he identifies with him as an outcast, as someone, like they come from the same neighborhood. So he definitely does see him as like a sort of surrogate son, I guess. And also Renzi Feliz is, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, sir, but he is fantastic as Vic.
Yeah.
Like, just to have this episode not only focus a lot on his psyche and what he wants, what he's struggling with, and then also showing the night of the Batman again.
Yeah.
And showing his neighborhood getting flooded and he loses his family. Like, that really sort of nailed in the consequences of what happened at the end of that movie. And I love the fact that the Penguin doesn't depend on the Batman for its existence, but it complements it in such a way that it is appropriate, and that it doesn't just spam a whole bunch of references as like, it's like, this is a story in that universe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be just buried. It doesn't need to be, hey, we're the Batman's cooler sibling.
Overall, I like it. There are parts of it, like I was looking back at some of the messages I sent to you because this was the 3rd episode, I believe.
Yeah, we're on episode 3 of 8.
So these are some of the messages I sent right at the beginning. The thing that made me think when he's walking, he's kind of walking like a penguin, and I actually sent you video of it. This is Vic. The dude that's the bad guy is named Squid, and I'm like, I wonder if penguins eat squids, and they do. And I sent you the screenshot of that. And then I went, oh, it's a flashback. Dude is still named Squid, walks like a penguin. The flood sort of turned the city into a bunch of icebergs, like penguins, live up there.
Yeah.
Where's the one? Victor is a f***ing idiot who uses their boss's apartment to bring a girl over when the boss is a murderer.
I mean, that's a clear rookie mistake.
Yeah.
That happens.
Well, and a couple different things. One, the drug this bliss stuff. I wonder if the fear toxin stuff starts because it interacts with people differently.
Oh, I'm sure. And even if it doesn't, I'm sure Crane is behind. I would like to think that Crane is behind bliss as well. And if he's not behind it, he probably not only has an antidote to it, he has like the counter. He has fear. He's probably, if he's not behind it totally, he is in the wings waiting to seize it. That's my theory. I think he's waiting. I think he's there.
The part though that kind of scares me about this show, it always seems like there's a scheme on top of a scheme on top of a scheme, right? I hope we don't get to the end of this and it's like, do you remember the end of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey?
No.
Where they, it's a good thing that we win because we put a cage up there and it falls out of the sky and gets the guy. Oh, well.
Oh, yes.
I hope it doesn't turn into something like this where everything seems to be going one way. It's like, oh, well, you didn't see me do this. And, the building falls apart or, something really crazy that we don't see progressing,
Mm-hmm.
So that's my only fear of the show, but I like it. I think Colin Farrell's good. I think Vic, the kid that plays Vic, is great. I'm interested to see where it goes, and I'm interested to see if it kicks off a new Batman movie. Like if they just go like, then they get done with this, and then they go, oh hey, here's your new Batman movie is going to deal with this, or Batman makes a cameo at the end, and it's like, okay, I got to pay attention to this penguin fellow. Although what the other thing I asked you and I brought it up. What if I called you on Monday morning after because I had a thought about the penguin. Because right now it's the name of the guy, right?
Yeah, it's a derogatory nickname because he waddles and he has deformities.
What if the name Penguin, it changes from a name to a title? It's kind of like the Kingpin in the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
I become the Penguin of Gotham, and part of me was wondering, does Vic sell him out at the end and become learn all these tricks of the trade and then becomes the Penguin at the end?
It would be interesting. So, but I don't think that's happening because Colin Farrell is supposed to be in the Batman Part 2. Unless you're going to set up Vic to become a temporary Kingpin and then Penguin ices him, but I didn't mean for that to be a pun, but I was figuring I'd play it as it lay.
There you go.
I don't think they would do that to that character. If Vic is going to be out of the picture, it's going to be by the end of this.
Okay.
This series. I think this is intended to be a limited, maybe one season series. We'll see if they change their mind. But yeah, I think if Vic's going to be out of the picture, it's going to be by episode 8.
All right. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend joining me every week on the show to talk about the world of movies. Christopher Nolan's got a new movie coming out. That's kind of the only real big piece of news this week. It's going to be Matt Damon. And what do we know about this right now? Christopher Nolan
is setting up his latest film to be released in July 2026.
Okay.
Because that's Christopher Nolan's sweet spot, as we've learned over the past couple of years. I mean, he basically. That's why Mission Impossible the last Mission Impossible movie, Dead Reckoning, didn't get an IMAX release because Nolan is all about IMAX, all about July. Sources have indicated that July 17th, 2026 is going to be Christopher Nolan's next movie. It's going to be an IMAX release. Matt Damon is in talks to star, and we do not know anything about the plot or what it could possibly be. And I thought I'd heard whispers that it might be a return to sci-fi, but they are expected to start shooting early next year.
What if it's something about saving Matt Damon?
I mean, I think it's about time Matt Damon saved someone else.
You know what? A kid in our building said something, and I go, you know what? That's true. Every movie is about someone either trying to get Matt Damon for something, whether it's chasing him, like in the Jason Bourne stuff, whether it's saving him, like in Interstellar or The Martian, or some of these other things. It's like it's one or the other. Everybody's trying to get the Matt Damon for some reason. So
yeah, I miss having the bad day in space streak of movies where it was like, we had a run that was like, I think Interstellar might have started it. I forget what movie started it, but Gravity. I think Gravity started it, and then we had a nice run for several years where
was he in
like
Gravity?
No, I'm saying the bad day in space movies.
Oh,
were
okay. I get you.
But no, there was also that saving Matt Damon streak, and that's another thing we could bring up. Interstellar turns 10 this year.
Wow, really?
And it's going to be going back to IMAX in December, also getting a 10th anniversary collector's box.
Oh, wow. Well, you talk about a tough movie to watch.
Tough in what regard?
The scene where he's leaving the kid, and then the scene at the end when he's, trying to tell himself not to leave the kid. That's some good acting on Matthew McConaughey's part.
So many people have bagged on Interstellar, and I was never one of them. I was there day one, and I've absolutely adored this film. It came out October 26, 2014. That was in my first year as being a journalist, and I actually got to interview Hans Zimmer because of this movie.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And just hearing him talk about tell the infamous letter story where Christopher Nolan didn't give him a script when he asked him to do the movie. He gave him a letter that he wrote to his children that has never been published. I think he may have burned it or just got rid of it, but he gave him a letter that he wrote to his children and wanted Hans to keep that in mind for the tone for the score.
Yeah.
And then he talked about how he loved using the organ in that movie because it has that breathing organism quality to it where the air goes in and out, and it's like you just have a living instrument. And this was even around the time that they were getting ready for Junkie XL to do Fury Road, and he's like, "Oh, I love the stuff I'm hearing from that." And this was the next summer Fury Road came out. So I was like, "You've worked with Junkie XL before. Have you heard anything from this?" And that was just one of my favorite interviews because I love talking to composers. I know that it's some people may not think it's a big traffic driver, and I'm sure to a certain point it isn't, but I just love talking with someone like that where you could just get lost. Like Michael Giacchino is another example, or John Pisano. The composers that I've talked to, I have always gotten lost in talking about the subject with them, and they usually have longer slots, so that's another good thing.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend. What?
There we go.
There you go, everybody. Real quick before we get to the time travel. Sad news, Netflix canceled Chaos after one season.
Oh, they'll just put that in the closet with all the other one-season shows that they canceled.
That's the Jeff Goldblum doing Greek mythology stuff if it was based out of Florida.
Yeah, and I still need to see that. I don't care if it's not getting another season. I still want to see it.
It's pretty good. Listen, I'm not going to... What's bad about it, I think I brought this up at one point when we were talking about it. It was really, really, really good and enjoyable to watch, but the last two episodes were basically just set up for the next season. So, yeah, it's one of those, it's like, oh, this is going so well. Oh, you're just setting up the next season. You mother...
Son of a...
Anyways, all right, we'll do some time travel. We'll make some weird noises, and we'll be back with a review of Saturday Night and possibly Agatha if you have time. We'll see what happens. All right, hey, goodbye. Hey. Time machine noise in 3, 2, 1.
All right, Dr. Forrester. Jeez.
There's going to be a day that I make a supercut of all the time machine noises.
I think at this point we should do a supercut of all the noises so far, and then layer them on top of each other, throw some embellishment on it, and make it the official sound.
You mean an echo on top? Because that's what, or a flanger, what everybody puts on stuff and thinks that sounds so cool. Anyways, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com is back on the line with me. We have time traveled into the future. It is October 11th, almost 9 a.m. Central Time. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend is he's back with me. We've time traveled. We're in the future now. And as of last night, you did watch Agatha and you did see Saturday Night. Let's talk Saturday Night real quick. What did we think?
I think it's one of the best damn movies of the year.
Really? That good, huh?
I am not vouching for historical accuracy because I already know there's some fabrications. Like, I don't think Milton Berle was recording a variety show in the building the same night SNL was going up.
Okay.
But the reason they introduce it is so that way, in a metaphorical sort of sense, Milton Berle can shut Chevy Chase up with his.
Okay.
Because all right. So, small history lesson: Milton Berle was notorious for not only having a prodigiously sized member, but he was also known for whipping it out and showing people and bragging about it.
Nice.
So there's a scene where Chevy Chase, being Chevy Chase through the whole night, gets stopped dead in his tracks when Milton Berle's hitting on his fiance, and then literally at one point whips it out and then keeps going on with his speech where it's like, I'm remembered as Mr. Television. Who's going to remember you? And the fact that it's J.K. Simmons doing that, it makes it even more spectacular. But that's just a piece of why I love Saturday Night, because this movie it feels like if Whiplash was a warm hug, because there is a lot of pressure, there is a lot of stakes. I mean, this is basically it's pretty much in real time. Like, it's an hour and a half in real time, more or less, where Lorne Michaels and his cast are getting the first episode of Saturday Night Live together. And everything that can go wrong will go wrong, from temperamental cast members. John Belushi hasn't signed his contract yet. George Carlin's throwing a fit. Deliveries at the loading dock are going wrong. Like, everything is just scattered. And for about an hour and a half, you see all of that being played out through the cast and through Lorne. And it's kinetic. It is energetic. There is not a lull or like a dead spot in this film. And another part of what really impresses me about this is John Baptiste, who he was the band leader for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And he's also he's an Academy Award winner for the score for Soul that he did with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. He live scored this movie. They recorded the score for this movie live on set, because he also plays Billy Preston, who was one of the first musical guests on SNL. And that's just another bit of I mean, they built part of 30 Rock, like a two-floor recreation of 30 Rock to go and make this film.
Yeah.
There is an air of authenticity, and I don't think it doesn't seem too precious with its subject matter. It doesn't feel like they're really trying to gild the lily, or like it doesn't feel like they're trying to just give SNL the biggest hug ever and say, we love you, you're perfect. It shows how hard it was to get it together, but the result, it also shows how wonderful the result was when it actually landed.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend on the line with me right now, talking about Saturday Night. Okay, so that's good, because we had talked about at one point that this movie was either going to be a love it or hate it type thing. Going back to the cast real quick, who was the best casted and worst casted in this movie?
I really can't answer that question, because I don't think there was any bad casting here. And like the wonderful thing about, you have a cast of young people, like Gabriel LaBelle as Lorne Michaels is a lot of fun, because he also played, most people would know him for his role in The Fabelmans as sort of the fictitious stand-in for Steven Spielberg. Okay. So that was like a semi-autobiographical movie about his childhood and growing up and everything. And he, like, there's just certain affectations through everyone's performances that you get who they're supposed to be. And it's not just doing an impression of, it's not Kim Matula doing an impression of Jane Curtin. She gets a wonderful scene where, like, it's Jane Curtin and Garrett Morris are sitting in the bleachers trying to figure out, like, why are they on this show? Like, what's their purpose? And then Kim Matula goes and gets to do this wonderful commercial parody monologue showing like that was one of Jane Curtin's apparently one of her strengths on the show, and she's like, that's why I'm here. But everybody's just
all right.
Everyone's firing on all cylinders here.
All right, I can dig it. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend. So Saturday night is a good one. Go see it. And you think it's one of the best of the year, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, when I love a Jason Reitman movie, I love a Jason Reitman movie. I mean, Thank You for Smoking is phenomenal. Up in the Air is another one that I'm a huge fan of. I still think more people need to watch The Front Runner, especially with politics being the way that it is today. And I think that's also one of Hugh Jackman's best performances.
Okay.
But yeah, like when I lock in with a Jason Reitman movie, it is something truly special. And I did not expect a Saturday Night Live historical drama to actually get me to tear up.
Wow.
But there's two parts in particular. There's an ice skating scene with two cast members that seems particularly poignant. I don't want to spoil it for anyone because I want them to sort of discover it themselves. Yeah. And then just when it gets to the end and they pulled it off, like the first sketch has gone off, everybody's clapping. The end credits are done in a style similar to the opening of SNL, where it's like the sort of black and white with the pastel color tones like they did in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then they have this wonderful rendition of the original SNL theme. I also have to throw credit towards Lamorne Morris as Garrett Morris is fantastic, because not only did I learn that a lot of people have asked him if he's his son, to the point where like when he talked to Garrett Morris would like joke with him about it.
Yeah.
He does a fantastic job in here. And then Dylan O'Brien as Dan Aykroyd. Like, I need everybody to follow me on this, because Dylan O'Brien, the guy who was the lead of The Maze Runner when he was a kid, he's a fantastic actor. But just like to show you how far he's come, it's like The Maze Runner through to Saturday Night with two stops that I happen to be really fond of, Love and Monsters and The Outfit. Go watch those as well.
Okay.
But yeah, just Dylan O'Brien is good people, and it's so much fun to watch him as like this Aykroyd that is hitting on everybody in the cast with like his Fred Garvin bit.
All right, we can do that. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend. All right, so that takes care of Saturday night. The other one that we thought we'd get to, and you apparently did see it last night, Agatha All Along, newest episode. What do we think? I'm
still on board with this show.
Okay.
I am having a blast, and the end of this week, I mean, while the pop figure kind of spoiled the reveal, I hate the fact that I went on Twitter the other day and apparently Teen's identity has been revealed, even though it's not revealed in name, but more in visual cues, and a wonderful, wonderful piece of dialogue that Catherine Hahn just, oh man, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen this week's episode, when she cups Teen's face and she's like, "You're just like your mother," the way that she says that is just amazing. Beautiful.
I will give you that. If she was that character throughout this whole thing, I think I would like it more.
But she is. That's the point.
But
she is, and I think to a certain extent, Agatha has to conceal her true self because she has these other witches with her. She has to be adversarial enough that they can fight with her, but it's not too easy for them to help her when she actually needs it or when she pushes them towards it. It's all chess here.
When she does the goofy, kind of acting and over dramatization of stuff and all that I don't like. But when she does the evil, she's a bad guy, like that scene there, I really like it. Maybe maybe it's not so much the character, it's the flip-flopping back and forth.
I think that's just part of the character. Especially after if we're really going to be in the WandaVision exists, damn it, camp, or WandaVision counts, or whatever, however you want to say it. If we're really taking this into account with the full legacy of WandaVision, that was Agatha's character when she was in that was her character. She was this person where she adapted to all these different eras of sitcom and was shticky, but then when it really counted, she dropped the hammer.
Well, like the fight with Wanda at the end, she wasn't doing that stuff. She was a good bad guy who got beat by, it happened to be the Scarlet Witch, But maybe that's it for me. I like her evil.
I know, and I don't think we're supposed to totally be on her side, because this episode especially was making it sound like at a point that it was important to leave her behind. This is what's supposed to happen. And wrestling with that choice and actually making a choice contrary to that is fantastic.
I did like the part where they're trying to figure out if she actually was stealing that girl's power by choice, or it's just a reflex reaction of her power.
No, that was, even I am uncertain about that. And I think to a certain point, I think it was an accident and a reflex. And that's what makes her such a good, complex character. It's like, on one hand, being evil and literally taking power from someone is a natural instinct. But on the other hand, you can see these little cracks in her facade, where it's like, I don't want to be totally horrible. Like, I do regret not being able to have friends and have people.
Maybe. Did you like the flying scene?
Okay, I could barely see that.
Really?
I don't know why. Because the beginning, this is one of the two complaints I have had. Well, three complaints I've had so far with Agatha all along. First one being that the first episode was too much like WandaVision. I felt like they burnt too much time with that. We went over that. Listen to the previous episode. The Marvel Television logo is too simple for me. I don't like it.
Okay.
Because you're just like turning that big MCU fanfare into like, oh, Marvel TV. It's like, no.
Marvel TV.
No, you need to go hard with that, or go with like the special presentation Michael Giacchino gave you two really good versions of this, and you're just kind of like turning it. You're basically summing up the crowd's feeling on the streaming era and streaming economy with how you've treated that tune. But the third thing that I had a problem with is the first act of this episode. It's only 32 minutes, which I was surprised, but it works. For the first act of this episode, I put it on my TV, could barely see it. I put it on my computer, could barely see it, up until like that shot with the blood moon.
Yeah.
And then finally, when they get into the cabin, I could see what was going on. But I went from TV to computer. I bumped the brightness all the way up on my computer, and it's like, why is this so damn dark?
See, I was going to ask what kind of were your TV settings, because we have Vizios in our house, and we have to we put everything on. I think it's vivid. Like the other settings, like they're just dark or dull to me. I like the vivid setting.
I'll have to check.
Yeah, I don't know, because I remember that complaint about one of the Game of Thrones episodes. We're like, sounded like it was good, but nobody could see it. But no, that's it. It's interesting that. Well, it's not interesting, but it just shows you, the world of entertainment where we can have such two opposing views of the same character.
No, exactly. And also, I think this week ended on the perfect needle drop. And they are 4 for 5 so far. I told a friend 5 for 5, but it's like they've been 4 for 5 so far. That first episode was, I feel like they thought they had more time because they were dropping the first two in the same night. And like, in that case, just make it a movie. Do like they used to do on TV. Do like a 2-hour pilot and then go with the rest of your episodes. And also, that kind of brings up a minor point I wanted to touch on before we go that I didn't bring up when we talked about the Penguin. Someone threw up a tweet where it's like they were talking about how much they miss the era of like 22 episode seasons, and they're like, you can't tell me we couldn't have done this with the Penguin. Like, we should have had 22 episodes with this, and especially if it's a limited series. Like, I have no problem with that, especially because do you remember filler episodes?
Yeah, I totally remember filler episodes.
When you do a good filler episode, it's fantastic. It barely feels like filler, but even then, it's like, I miss having 22 episodes to a season. I think that's another thing that shows are missing when it comes to keeping the conversation going. I get that there's so much out there and that everybody's putting it out there at breakneck pace, but I want to go back to 22, and I know part of it is, I think, with the Writers Guild contract, you get paid a certain amount when you do 22 episodes, and I think networks just don't want to pay that, which, boo. But I want to go back to having 22 episodes in a year, Go back to the old model where from January to May, you had all 24 episodes of 24 uninterrupted. You didn't need to do reruns, because that was something they did in the early days of that show, is they had reruns like around the beginning of the year when it's like, oh, the show's coming back. And then they had the brilliant idea of, well, why don't we just run January to May?
Yeah, I think I could make an argument both ways for that, because I'm a firm believer in I'd rather have a great 20 minutes than an okay 40 minutes.
Well, fair, but I think that showrunners would be able to adapt back to that, because we still have fantastic shows with those run counts. I mean, Battlestar Galactica is one of the last examples I can think of where you had, like, I think they had 20-something episodes in their seasons. And
the example I'll use, it's not perfect, but it kind of it's what kind of makes me feel this way. It's Netflix's, early days of doing like the TV show stuff, especially back when like they were doing like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and all that. It always seemed like their seasons were an episode too long or an episode too short. Like they couldn't get that timing figured out, and I think that comes like that. And don't get me wrong, that is an exacting art to, put a season together, have it be 20 stories long, and not have it get old, or not forget to put stuff in and then it feels rushed. Like there is an art to doing that. Don't get me wrong, but
no, exactly.
I would. If it's perfect in 8 episodes, that's all you need to me.
If I don't mind if it's perfect in 8 episodes, that's great. That's fantastic. Put it on the box. But to your point, Daredevil was 13 episodes each season. That's right at, like, if you're going by the 22, 24, even 20 episode model, that might be when things are really starting to cook. And then just imagine if you had 7 more hours of Daredevil in a season where the stuff you think was too short gets expanded, or the stuff you think was too long serves a greater purpose.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It just.
But I do agree with you. It's like don't do 20 episode seasons just because you can. Don't do hour-long episodes just because you can. That's another thing that we've seen with streaming, and especially with Agatha all along today.
That was short.
It was 32 minutes.
That was
and it's like
that wrapped up, and I looked at my wife. I'm like, boy, that was short. She goes, "What time is it?" And I go, "It's only like 10:30." And we were like, "Oh, okay."
Like it knew its exit, and even tying that back to Saturday night. Saturday night is only 109 minutes, and I'm betting maybe 10 minutes of that is credits, because usually it's like 10 minutes for end credits at the very least. So that is around an hour and a half real time. If you really wanted to, you probably could have done 2 hours. You could have shown more of the show, of the first night show, and then the celebration afterwards. But no, they focused in on something specific. They had a story. They had a concept. They did what they felt was best for it. I'm not someone that's going to sit here and say movies are too long, movies are too short. I think we need to push all of this out of the window and do what's best. But at the same time, there does feel like an unfair aversion to 20-something episode seasons, 3-hour plus movies. Like, if it's right, it's right.
All right. I don't know. This is just one of those conversations that, could go a million different directions. And I think part of it for me is, like, it's been beaten into my head so long because of radio that never use 5 words when 3 will do.
No, I think we're on the same point with this. I do agree with you with that. I just think that we should stop shying away from going longer, or if it fits, going shorter. Like, fine.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Pick your battles, and don't be afraid to especially go longer. We've got a movie coming out this year called The Brutalist, which is, I think it's 4 hours long. I'm ready to go see that.
4 hours seems a little long.
Hey, I sat through the whole Snyder Cut in one sitting, and that, while it was long, it did not drag. It felt wonderful. Yeah, this is, almost 4 hours.
Well,
215 minutes.
Well, get him a medal. Now you're going to be mad at me. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend joins me every week on the show. This could be the last show ever.
Stuck with me. This isn't the last show.
Oh, no. This is punishment for something I did in my younger days that involved whiskey and Jaeger and a strip club. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend. You have a good rest of the weekend. Thank you so much, and enjoy it.
You too, man.